So we're back on the water, and today we're going to talk about ledge fishing for crappie. A lot of times we target those brush piles, those laydowns, docks, and all this other good stuff, but we're going to get into locating these fish on ledges. So let's get into it. That looks like one right there. Looks like some bait out here. But that right there looked like there could be some crappie right there. Maybe even right here. With some shad. So right there, as you can see, we're coming up on this embankment right here. There's shad, and that looks like a group of crappie right there, as you can see right there. So we'll go ahead and mark that. We'll see if we're on the upper. Right there, we'll go ahead and mark that. Say, come over here, and it's literally right here on this little ledge right here. Now let's get into talking about what a ledge is. It's literally like if you were playing on this flat ground and then there was a hill. Maybe you guys grew up and you like to roll down a hill, or you were up north and you like to sled down a hill. That hill, literally, if it's on that flat and it starts to go down, I guess, here in deep water or on your hill, it starts to go down to where you can slide down it or sled down it. That hill, that angle is your ledge. Another way to look at it too is like a swimming pool. It has shallow water, it's got deep water. So in that shallow water, you know, you got that shallow water, and then it slowly starts to taper off and slide down into that deeper water. So right there where it tapers off, when it starts to drop down, that section right there is a ledge. So a lot of people, like I said, don't really understand what a ledge is, but there are ledges. They're all over the place. They're on rivers, they're on lakes, they're in ponds, and it is relative. Sometimes, you know, they could be, you know, a foot. Sometimes they could be 40 foot or longer. So a ledge, you know, varies in different sizes, different areas, and sometimes you may not have a ledge at all. So here's my mapping right here, and as you can see, look, 21, 21, 21, 22. So this is a huge flat, and then out here it's 70 foot. So as we go this way, coming out here to deeper water, this section right here, where you see all these black lines, these contour lines, that is going to be the ledge. So as we go over this, we'll look right here, and you'll actually see it leveling out, and then it starts to drop off. A lot of the times on a map, these black lines replicate, you know, a steep drop off. All right, so we're about to get into it right here, and as you can see right here, here's that flat. You got that flat like this, and then it starts to drop off. So this is down imaging, this is 2D sonar right here, this is your traditional sonar, and then here this is side imaging. So as you can see, we were on this flat, and then all of a sudden we got this hill, this slide. So that right there will be your ledge. And as you can see right here, can't see it on down imaging, sometimes 2D. This is why I have both, because sometimes you'll be able to tell if there's fish on here or not. But on this ledge, you're looking for arches, you're looking for bait, you're looking for fish. So, you know, this would be a good spot right here to start. It's not exactly what I'm looking for, but if you just have 2D sonar, you know, this would be a good spot to start. They look a little bit bigger. They look like they could be some hybrids, or maybe some stripers, or maybe even some yellow bass. So as I ride this bank right here, so when I'm ledge fishing, I'm going to run this ledge, and we're going to get up here in a second, and I'm going to show you exactly what we're looking for on the side imaging and in the down imaging and that traditional 2D sonar. You can see on side imaging right here, there's some structure right there. It looks like I actually have it marked. We're just still riding this ledge right here, riding this ledge, and we're out off the high spot just a little bit, because our 360, here's the ledge here, and we can see the flat right here, so we'll be able to see a bunch of stuff right there. But we're gonna come around, keep on following the contour lines right on that ledge. And I'm gonna show you exactly what we're looking for, and as soon as we see it, we'll go and we'll try to go ahead and target them. All right, right there. There it is right there. It's exactly what you're looking for on this ledge. So we're gonna go ahead and mark that and turn right back around, and we're gonna try to fish that right there. And as you can see right there, it's super dark on those contour lines. Well, it was super dark right here where we marked it, that blue dot right there. It's super deep right there. A beautiful drop off. As you can see, there's a bunch of fish right there, so we're going to go back and target those fish. Here they are on 360 right here. It's a beautiful tool to have, 360, because if you can't see it in forward facing sonar, they'll kind of show you exactly where they are. Here's the boat here, and they were all right here out to the side of us. There they go, right here. A bunch of something out there feeding on them, or feeding with them. So we just made that cast. It's a bunch of fish. Here it is again on the 360 right here in front of us, that shadow right there. We're getting down into that. We're gonna work this bait right into all that structure and all that bait that we see right there. There we go, got one already. Oh man, great crappie. Look at this joker. Oh man, look at that crappie. Oh my goodness. Look at that stud. Holy smokes, dude. That thing is huge. Guys, always got his air bladder coming out because they're super deep. And right here is quality. Guys, you saw on the graph up there how many there were. So when you find these fish ledge fishing, you can catch quantity and quality, and sometimes you can catch your PB. This thing right here is a giant. And like always, the Dirty Bait Slayer on that micro shad jig by Z-Man always seems to get it done. Go back down. And that right there is probably the #1 reason why I feel like it is the most difficult. A lot of the times when you see them, just like we just seen right there, and you catch one, you may be in the middle of it, you may be on the far end of it, and if you pull that fish through them, they're moving. They're moving to another location, they're pushing out a little bit deeper, and in the middle of that fight, you're bringing it in, you're talking to the camera, you're showing the fish. When you turn back around, those fish are going to be gone. They weren't too far gone. They were actually out in a little bit deeper water, and then they pushed back, and I couldn't get them to bite again. But that is one of the main reasons why it is so difficult, especially when they're on these ledges and they're not really relating to anything. But when you do find them on ledges like this, the #1 positive about it is that they will come back to that spot every year, because there's something right there that they are attracted to, and they'll come back every year on that ledge, or even the next week, maybe even the next month. But you can always come back and try that location, and a lot of the times those fish are going to be right there. Crappie. Now that was kind of cool, but as soon as we got up to the front, the forward facing sonar was pointing off to this left hand side, right where this bluff bank is, and there was a piece of structure, and we just caught that crappie right there. But a lot of the times, if you're on these ledges and you find a piece of structure somewhat similar to that, it wasn't fully loaded, but it was loaded, you can sit there and you can pick them off one after another, because they're related to that structure. But like that one out there, that big one that we just caught, he wasn't related to anything. They were kind of just suspended and just kind of hanging out in that area. And like I said, once you catch one of them, depending on where you catch that fish in that school, you can spook them and they can, you know, move on to a new location, and you'll lose them. Now, another reason why ledges are really good, because a lot of fish, including these crappie, will use these channels and these ledges as highways. And a lot of times, like over there, they'll hunker to a certain spot, and when those bait fish come by, they ambush them. So it's a very good ambush location for these crappie. Depending on the time of the year, these fish will maybe be out a little bit deeper. Like for example, in the summertime, they don't like to be in this warm water in these, you know, these creeks, so they push out and they're on deeper ledges. In the fall right now, you could probably hit them, you know, from that 8 to 10, maybe that 10 to 15 foot range. Then when it comes to wintertime, they like those deep turns on those channel swings, or a really steep drop, almost like a bluff wall, or on a ledge that is very steep. And then in the springtime, it's time for the spawn. So any kind of ledge around shallow areas, maybe shallow vegetation, a lay down, they're going to be kind of staged out in that area before they push up to do that spawn. So let's talk about kind of how to locate these ledges. And if you don't have these electronics, you know, you can always revert to a paper map and just kind of position yourself the best you can on some of these ledges that we talked about. The best thing to do is, you know, everybody got a phone now these days, is to purchase an app. There's a One Boat Network app. There is a Navionics app, and you can use that like GPS and position yourself out here on these ledges. Now, the only downside about that is that you can't see fish, and a lot of the times we use our electronics to ride these ledges, locate fish, and to catch them. So you may have to fish tons of different spots in order to, you know, find these fish. But like I said earlier, if you do find them, you know, you can always come back because they're staged, or they're stuck to that piece of structure or that ledge for some reason. So I have electronics. I have Humminbird, as you can see. I have the VX map cards, and they are amazing. So what I typically do is I look for those high spots and where it literally drops off into the main channel, and I will just run those spots until we see fish, somewhat similar to what we did over there. And you know, that's basically how I locate them. Now, once I locate these fish on these ledges, you know, you're probably wondering, like, well, what baits do you use, and, you know, what's your approach? Well, a lot of the times, like I said, if they're not related to anything, you need to fish fairly quick. And these are some of the baits that I typically have tied on that work so well for me. Is going to be that first one, that 1/8 ounce, or depending on how deep it is, I'd use a 1/4 ounce with that Dirty Bait Slayer on there and that Ghost Pearl color or that Monkey Milk. And underspin is so well to get their attention with that little blade flickering right there. But an underspin would be really good. I got a Slayer on that. A hair jig, a little bit lighter, and you know, maybe with that split shot up on the top, or just go with a heavier hair jig. And right now, you know, it's the fall, and these fish are, you know, relating to bait fish, so any kind of bait fish color does the trick. And then this is a little sneaky bait right here. I got put onto this a long time ago. As you can see, it looks like a shad, and on top of that, it's on a vibrating jig, and everybody knows a vibrating jig for any kind of fish is absolutely fire. And the guy that put me on this, he didn't really want to tell me about it, but this right here, it actually drops a little bit faster. I think it's a 1/4, and then that blade right there shaking that tail, you know, moves fairly quick. So like I said, these fish are not really related to anything, and if they are, you can slow down and fish, you know, a little bit slower with some of your slower approaches. But these right here are my top picks, and my approach on how I catch some of these fish on these ledges. Now that I showed you the baits, you're probably wondering, like, how do you kind of fish them? Maybe what gear do you typically use? Well, a lot of the times, if you use your forward-facing sonar, if the pile is in front of me, you want to try to pick apart the ones that are closest to you, because like I mentioned earlier, if you hit that middle or you get that far side and you're pulling that fish, especially if it's a big fish, through all of those other fish, it's going to spook them, and they're just going to go somewhere else, and it's going to be very difficult to locate them. So the best thing to do is to pick them apart from the fish that are closest to you, and then just work your way through them. And you know, sometimes even if you do catch that first one that is closest to you, it will spook them. That's what makes it very difficult and very irritating for guys to really want to kind of do this. So ledge fishing and finding those suspended fish, just, you know, maybe in a creek channel or maybe just a little bit off these ledges, is very difficult, and reasons why guys don't really like to do it. Now, my rod and reel setups are always the same. I got that 7-foot medium powered spinning rod, a 2500 series reel. I got that, what, 10-pound to 8-pound braid to a 8-pound to a 6-pound floor leader. Like I mentioned earlier, that Dirty Bait Slayer. Got that 1/8 ounce crappie jig head. and it usually does the trick for me. But like I mentioned earlier, not a lot of people do this. So if you get out here on the water and you start to master ledge fishing for crappie, you can load the boat quickly. You can catch quality fish, sometimes even your personal best, and you just have a blast doing it. Leave one of your favorite crappie tips down below. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button. If you want to see upcoming videos, go ahead and subscribe. But until then, continue to follow Bassn Buddy, and I'll see you next time. Peace.